Good fucking morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Proof of Person. Happy fucking Wednesday. Today we have Matthew with us, CEO and co-founder of Open Gradient, as our main guest for episode 41. Matthew, thank you for joining the show and taking the time. How are you doing today? How's everything?
First of all, thanks for having me. Very excited to hop on and, given everything that's going on, excited to chat about what's top of mind for us, what we've been building towards, as well as the imminent launch, as everyone's probably anticipating. I've been doing great. Just again, excited to be here. I'm currently in, Asia with my team, hosting a lot of events here, very much on the ground, meeting other partners and also people, and excited.
So excited. Yeah, thank you for being here. I know it's an important day today with the OPG launch happening in a few days, the airdrop and the eligibility and everything that many, I'm sure, contributors are excited about. April 15th to April 20th. We're going to go through all of that and everything that you're building in the show, and super excited. But before we jump into everything Open Gradient, do you mind sharing who you are, a quick TLDR on who you are, what you do, and a bit of your background? And just a reminder for everyone, like, comment, retweet. The stream is going to be a great show and a lot of alpha and probably some surprises later today. So yeah, sit back and enjoy.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it sounds great. Firstly, I'm Matthew, one of the co-founders of Open Gradient. We started working on Open Gradient about 2 years ago. Before this, I was actually a research engineer working on options at a quantitative hedge fund in New York called 2 Sigma. I met my co-founder, Adam, who was previously a Palantir AI tech lead, where he built out a lot of Palantir's core AI platform. He's also on a lot of their AI agent patents, which I found to be super exciting. They built all sorts of products in AI that are now being used in defense and the military. My personal background before 2 Sigma was in ML research. I've done all sorts of research on applications of machine learning, specifically in finance. And my co-founder, of course, his background is in software engineering and AI, and he's been building software and infrastructure specifically for agents before it was even cool. We met in New York, kicked it off, and we're both very excited about what AI could do for Web3, and we started working on Open Gradient together. Since then, start from the 2 of us, we've grown the team to close to 15 people now. We have engineers and researchers from places like Google, from Facebook, from Amazon, and many other exciting places, and excited to be pushing towards the common goal of bringing verifiable AI to the masses.
I'm so excited. Yeah, a lot of great experiences, I'm sure, in 2 Sigma, Google, NASA, and meeting Adam in New York. Did you start with Web3 and crypto in general when you were there, or are you in Asia right now, or are you still in New York? Are you for the event, or based on?
We're based in New York. I've been in New York for about 6 years now. I'm actually in Seoul now, where we're at a conference hosting some events here. And I'll be back in New York in a week. But I actually was not in Web3 until I started Open Gradient. I actually love telling this story about how I got into Web3, but I initially started by, playing around with a lot of DeFi bots, and I actually ran my own latency arbitrage desk, from my own room, set up, a lot of market making bots on all these different exchanges, taking advantage of spreads across exchanges. Then, made some crypto and decided to deploy that into DeFi. And actually, that was one of my inspirations for starting Open Gradient. I started looking at DeFi and realized that compared to TradFi, DeFi was, it had a lot of pros, which was, as an example, it's decentralized, it's open, it's more transparent, but it also suffered from a lot of inefficiencies. A lot of the protocols are relatively simply designed, and there isn't a lot of sophisticated machine learning models or infrastructure and design directly embedded into the protocol that you typically see with TradFi. And I actually wanted to build machine learning models directly that you could be used in DeFi protocols. And one of my earliest forays into the space was actually, as soon as I started Open Gradient, a funded joint research opportunity with Uniswap, in order to dive into how verifiable machine learning models, such as vol forecasting models, can be used to set dynamic fees in Uniswap V4 AMM pools in order to ultimately reduce impermanent loss for LPs. But yeah, happy to dive more into that later. This is my journey into Web3, and since then, it's been an exciting ride.
Yeah, that's crazy. I saw one of your tweets of getting on a plane with a ton of leverage. It's another level of anxiety a few years ago. So yeah, you've had a quite the experience with trading, and then now with Bitcoin, which we will get into as well, and building everything about Open Gradient. While I was doing the research yesterday and today, going over it, like there's so many products, obviously so much interoperability, everything interconnected. Like it's crazy how much you're building. Like how is there? I don't think I could find like a step by step of like how to understand everything in a simple way from a developer level or a very expert AI expert. Sorry, I think it seems a little bit easier, but for the normal everyday user that might not be an expert on AI, like what do you think, or what's the best way for them to start learning on Open Gradient?
Yeah, of course, there are many different moving parts, right? We've built tooling, we built a model hub, we built consumer apps, but starting with the base infrastructure layer as well as our vision for Open Gradient, it's actually quite simple. The thesis behind Open Gradient is today, as an example, if you sent me a transaction on Ethereum, we could actually see that transaction on base scan or ether scan or whatever network you're sending that on. You can see, hey, you sent me address A, sent address B, 10 USDC. It was validated at this block, and the nodes on the network have attested that this transaction is valid. You have enough balance to send me that transaction, and it was received by my address. Similarly, we actually want to try to achieve the same thing for AI, and the reason is we want to be able to prove that some data was fed into some model in order to generate some output, and that this should, again, similar to a DeFi or simple transaction, should be validated on chain by the nodes in order to validate that the compute was done correctly. And again, I'm happy to dive into use cases later on. The main purpose of this is to show that the compute was done correctly. So when you trust AI with critical business decisions, when you trust AI with your personal data, you can trust that it's doing the right thing to generate the right output, and that your data was not leaked to other people, that the right model was used, not a cheaper model, and that whatever critical business decision that you're relying on AI for was done correctly. So that's kind of the core thesis. Again, making AI secure and verifiable so you can actually audit it to make sure it's doing the right thing. And that allows us to kind of bridge the trust gap, right? To allow AI to actually, make more important decisions. And we're kind of trying to bridge that from an infrastructure level. Of course, on top of the infra that we built, we also built a model hub that you can find at hub.opengradient.ai. Today, there are approximately, I think, 4,000 plus models. A lot of them are Web3 specific as well. And we are, I think, the largest today decentralized repository of AI models. And a lot of that is also just to make it easier for developers to use different models that we've, hosted, and they can directly use that using our SDK tooling in whatever application that they're building. So yeah, again, ultimately, not just the infrastructure, we want to make verifiable AI usable and also accessible to everyone.
Yeah, no, super interesting. It applies for everything from the surface level to the AI agents, and as advanced as it could get, we need verifiable AI. And I was surprised that it was not a standard, or that is not a standard right now. And I'm sure that's one of the main problems that you saw when you started this, that obviously no AI is perfect, but you couldn't track where the mistake was, or if there was any inefficiencies. And especially now, a lot of our handling money these days, a mistake or that is not verifiable could be catastrophic, right? So it's another level. I was very curious and mind blown when I saw this on your website, like a 500 transactions per second and verifiable versus other blockchains just doing 15 to 30 transactions per second. Like, how do you guys achieve this? Like, I mean, on terms of possibility and reality, like it's just crazy. Like, if you can explain a little bit more TLDR and on the back end, if you want, on how you guys do it.
Yeah, no, of course there are tons of other like high performance blockchains out there, like Solana as an example, that's designed to achieve a couple thousand TPS. But the real innovation that we embedded into our blockchain network is not strictly just TPS, right? It's TPS, except the transactions are heavy compute transactions. There are inferences. There's agent tool calls, executions of agents. And ultimately, that is kind of what we aim to allow and enable with our infrastructure. So what we kind of designed was this thing called Haka, which is essentially, if I had to put it in simple ways, the division of compute between stateful compute and stateless compute. So we have these nodes that are GPUs, that are TAEs, that are designed to do the heavy lifting. So they run the inference, they do the proof generation or remote attestation generation. And then we have the regular blockchain nodes, which you can run on a simple AWS server, or you can run using your own home laptop. You don't actually need specialized hardware for it. And we essentially offload the heavy transactions to this, separate, pool of nodes. And then the cheaper nodes simply just do validation. So this way we have a good trade-off between performance as well as decentralization, because you can still have a very decentralized validation of all the proofs while having the centralized, or fewer nodes do all the computation. And again, all of this is underpinned by the OPG token, right? So if you're a node, you do bad compute, you generate faulty proofs, you will get slashed. And that's why the launch of the token is also, such an important milestone for Open Gradient. And overall, we have been, experimenting a lot with the technology. Over time, the infrastructure has evolved and improved, significantly. Today, we have like a separate mempool. You can read about it in our technical docs. I'm not going to elaborate on too much here, but the separate mempool essentially routes these transactions in simulation to this, separate pool of nodes for compute, and then, makes a callback to the chain where it then embeds it. And only upon validation of the proof is that inference transaction included in the block.
Super interesting. Yeah, I saw you guys were also playing around with forecasting models and obviously prediction markets so relevant and so hot meta right now. So yeah, just jumping into that as well. But yeah, tell me about the OPG token. You are beyond excited for the future of what you guys are building with verifiable AI and now integrating the token, which is launching on the 21st. But the eligibility and the airdrop for people to check, especially for contributors and the ones that are using your products, is today, right? It starts April 15. Is that correct?
Yeah. It should be opening up, or depending on what time zone you're in, it should be opening up today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something we're excited to get out. We've been, again, building for about 2 years now, so excited to bring this out. But I would say the comp of the OPG token is, today you see the Ethereum token, right? The Ethereum token kind of is used as a foundational kind of, security element for a lot of the chains that live on top, right? All the DeFi protocols that live on top of it, all the, L2 chains that settle on top of Ethereum is secured by ETH. That is the cryptoeconomic kind of asset that ensures that, everything is secured. And similarly for OPG, we want the asset to eventually become the fundamental underpinning of verifiable compute and verifiable AI, especially for inference, right? We want to ensure that this token is used to secure all the inference that the specialized nodes like the GPUs and TEs on our network are doing. So if they generate faulty proofs for users, downstream users of the protocol, they can get slashed. And ultimately, this is what will guarantee the security and verifiability of the protocol moving forward. Of course, there are other exciting use cases and flywheel elements of the token, including using it as incentives for people to develop new models on our network, allowing people to leverage these models in ways that, again, could, bring incentives back to the model developers. Because ultimately, if you don't have these models, that people are excited about, then, the protocol or the infrastructure isn't as effective. So yeah, we've also built many different machine learning models ourselves. And as you can see from this page, we have all different types of contributor models from our, indie developer community. We also host models for protocols such as Sentient, Pond, as well as, Flock. A lot of the models that they've trained and developed are also on here.
Yes, with the OPG token launch, which activities or which tasks will be replaced, because it will be more for a pay-per request scale and automation where the human doesn't need to interact as much on the creation of models and efficiency of the tasks that they perform, right? Are they replacing? Will they replace tasks that are already allowed right now, or there will be new tasks into a new kind of era where the AI agent will really take over?
I think what verifiability for AI really does in the agent realm is it really doesn't, the unlock it makes is the fact that it's secure and that people can trust it, right? So, you can always use AI agents to make decisions for you in terms of like what asset to buy to rebalance your portfolio. But the verifiability adds a new layer of security around it, where if they swap out the model, or if this DeFi provider of the agent chooses to cheat you and say that, hey, this agent actually made this other trade, and you have no way of actually auditing or verifying it. So what verifiability actually does in this case is that it builds that security around it that allows people to trust it with money, and ultimately, again, making important business critical decisions. In the future, AI could be diagnosing disorders or illnesses. All these critical things are going to be reliant on AI, and in order for us to really be able to leverage it to its full extent, we need it to be secure, we need it to be verifiable, we need it to keep users' data confidential.
Yeah, and as earlier, like it should have been standard from the beginning, but I think a lot of other AI models just prefer to launch and then patch it up or improve it. And you guys have had that at your core of being verifiable and building that trust and being able to have that track record. But yeah, 15 to 20th of April, registration window, claim window. For eligibility, I've seen a few posts of you guys of like highlighting contributors. Is this like, what is the highest for people to like, who gets the most? Are the ones that are building models on your platform, the ones that are using other products that you guys have, like Bitquant, MemSync, or how was that wagered per contribution?
Yeah. I think in general, we wanted to reward. I mean, of course, like being a user of our products is also rewarded, but I would say we really want to, again, to accelerate a verifiable AI, accelerate our mission. We want to reward the users that actually contribute materially to the protocol and the protocol's development. So as such, I think we, in general, I believe we weighed, things like contributing models directly or contributing software built on top of Open Gradient slightly more heavily than, as an example, using our products. Again, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. Would have to double check with the team internally that's handling it. But we try to, be, balanced in a way that, ultimately we believe the rewards should reflect people's contribution.
Yeah, of course. And from the investors, like based on your past backgrounds and experiences, I will say like, majority in person. Any TLDR or alpha that you want to share from them, or how was the seed? How did the seed go? Or I saw that it went up to 9.5 recently. I'm sure they're excited about the TGE as well.
Yeah, no, we're very excited to have been backed by some of the brilliant investors in the space. I think many of them see the value in, essentially leveraging decentralized rails and infrastructure for AI, and that, the implications of using blockchains for AI is huge, right? Similar for finance, right? Where we want to bring this onto a chain for fast settlement, for full verifiability, for me being able to instantly transact with you and have that transaction be secure by all the nodes on the network. We think that AI can be done in an exact and similar way, where usage of a model, usage of personal data, that should all be secure by a decentralized validator set, and ultimately allow people to trust AI with business critical decisions, with their personal user data, or with whatever they're using AI for, which eventually is going to be a lot of things.
Man, as you're talking, I'm trying to think of the question. I have a million questions. I don't know how we're gonna make this in 1 hour, but all right. I'm really curious about the Twin.Fun. I'm sure, or I hope it's one of your favorite products, because I haven't dove into it yet, but it's insane how what you guys are creating. TLDR, like it goes over your data, and it creates a duplicate, an AI agent of you, right? Or any personality, as any persona. Like here we have Donald Trump and people buying shares to speak with that AI twin, right? I don't want to continue without you explaining it in your own way. So can you just go for it?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, right, we built all this infrastructure, all this tooling. We have a model hub with 4,000 different models on it.
Yes.
I mean, we're just prolific builders, to be honest. We kind of thought what the next step was, and the next step naturally is to build, cool, exciting applications on top of our own infrastructure to showcase exactly what verifiable AI or what our infrastructure is capable of, right? And one of the things that we recognized was powerful was essentially confidential compute within the TE nodes, right? So today, when you use ChatGPT or Claude, a lot of your your data is actually stored on their servers unencrypted. And again, many journalists have covered this, but if you did something bad and got caught, as an example, Anthropic or OpenAI, they would be subject to, if they got subpoenaed, they would have to turn your data over, right? But that's just, aims to kind of showcase that your data is not really like secure, it's not really yours. So what we built is, this infrastructure, and it takes all of your data. You can connect your X, you can connect private, upload private documents, you can connect, other kind of websites that might have traces of your data, and we essentially process all of that data in a TE and turn it into vector embeddings. And everything is end-to-end encrypted, so your data, nobody sees it. We also have systematic PII redaction, so your private information is automatically redacted if it detects any. And we can now, with all the vector embeddings, create digital twin representations based off of the memories, based off of all the data that we collect from all these digital platforms and documents that you share. And the goal is to kind of build these knowledge bases that AI agents can then become, your expertise, your knowledge, your skills, your background distilled in a single agent that someone can buy a share of and instantly, talk to or interact with. And again, the infrastructure edge here is that everything is private. Nobody wants to gather all their digital data and send that to OpenAI or Anthropic or any centralized provider, right? But with us, again, this is all secure, and we try to build a fun, interactive token economy where people can kind of like interact with agents. And if you value my expertise, you can buy a share of my digital twin to talk to it.
Matt, in a way, you're also replacing people. I mean, I saw one of your posts as well. Like you were trying to combine the useful AI with the fun persona, and like you were replicating the best of both worlds, and into twins or in other ways as well with the meme sync and the Bitquant. But then I see you going to conferences all the time. Like, which one do you want, Matthew? You prefer people or you prefer AI agents? Like it's crazy, man.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm definitely more of an AI person. I think AI is humans, but without a lot of the flaws that you see. But I do think it's exciting, and I do think, of course, eventually AI is going to replace a lot of human, especially knowledge workers, just because they are cheaper, they're more efficient, they are also now way more intelligent, and the gap is only going to widen from here. So I think
they don't take holidays either. They don't have emotions. They can work 24/7.
I mean, but emotions can also be simulated, right? I think.
Oh man, we're going very dark here. Okay, I get it. But yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's one of the main reasons that people are transitioning into AI agents and handling their lives and replacing. It's funny because one of the main when I ask people for their best advice for builders in the proof of person show, most of them is have dreamers or have believers that can go with you, like have a very efficient team, have the like a very specific, very driven team. But then if you replace them with AI agents, it's also in a better next level way. So how many AI agents, because I also saw you mentioned like specialized on different sectors. Like, do you have specialized agents for every single thing? Do you have one main agent that helps you handle the rest? Like, how would you propose to someone to get involved in AI agents that has no idea how to do it, and to the level that you're in, for example?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think like as a user of AI agents, I think there's really nothing to be done there, because I think everything eventually will just be powered by agents. You will book a flight ticket without knowing the person on the other end is an AI agent. You will, be able to, let's say, like talk to customer support. You will interact with employees or other people without, again, it could be your legal counsel, it could be a doctor, without knowing the person on the other hand and whether they're human or an AI agent. So as a user, I think you're actually in a great spot, because this technology is about to benefit and make your life cheaper and more efficient and more effective. I think as a deployer of AI agents, right now, I think the what people are saying is that there's going to be essentially a lot of different specialized AI agents, right? Every AI agent is going to have a customized, prompts, specialized knowledge bases, and it's going to be built specifically with tool calls and rails that allow it to do a very specific task, right? So you're going to have an AI agent that is designed specifically to route your, market orders to the best exchange to give you the best prices, potentially as an example. You might have agents that, understand you personally and be able to go out there and buy you things based off of your own, utility and what you need. And that's why verifiability is actually so important. Everyone's talking about coordination, right? AI, agent swarms or, AI agent economies. If you have an AI agent that you hire, you pay it money to do something, you want to be able to verify that it did the work correctly, right? You want to be able to verify that it was able to, take your money and then go purchase whatever you wanted, and then, or do some kind of work, right? Could be generating a report, right? In that case, hey, was the right, data used? Did you use the right model? Like if I paid for Opus, I don't want you secretly using Sonnet, right?
Yeah.
My model used, if I paid for it, I better get, my money's worth. And that interop is uniquely enabled by verifiability, because if you don't have auditability or any receipt, you could I tell you, hey, I used Opus 4.6 to generate a report, but on the back end, I secretly used a cheaper model like Haiku to generate the report. And again, you wouldn't really be able to prove that, right? For true trustless coordination to really reach max efficiency, verifiability is a must.
Yeah, no, completely agree. How much are you guys focused on achieving perfection, or like patching, or like I mean, you can verify it, you can see the trail, you can see how and what the AI used, but how can you guys control how many mistakes or how many errors does the AI do in a way?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there are like two different types of errors in this case, right? The first type is when it's like a genuine mistake that the AI makes as a result of not, just being good enough. So Opus 4.6, GPT 5.4, even as good as they are, they still make mistakes. Sometimes they still hallucinate. Of course, they've improved significantly since since the, Anthropic and OpenAI have been releasing models. But again, still they make these errors. And ultimately, if they do make these errors, verifiable or not, that's something that is a real risk regardless, right? But what verifiability really guards against is kind of the second type of error, which is the operator actually doing this correctly, right? Is the program actually doing what it says, right? Or is he switching out the model for something cheaper? Or is your data actually being, maybe it's unencrypted on the server and that they can save a copy of it, right? Without verifiability, you can't actually see the program that's being run. And as such, whether your data was kept private or not, whether the right compute was done, whether they manipulated your data, whether they used the right model, all of these things are completely opaque, and they introduce, of course, multiple dimensions of potential errors to, usage of AI agents.
Yeah, no, and sometimes the instruction was, I mean, could have been seemed perfect, but it was a human mistake on how it was directed to the AI, right? So and also try.
Yeah. And you actually see these like interesting things where it's like big Web 2 companies have been kind of caught doing all sorts of kind of things. And again, if it were verifiable, you would be able to tell that these things, they were caught doing these things. As an example, like some people suspect that Anthropic quantizes their models, over time in order to reduce inference spend. And that's why people are saying, hey, the model quality is actually decreasing. Like, what's going on here? And then, as an example, Cursor was also caught using, I think, like some Chinese models for some of their backend services. When AI agents for coding started reasoning in Chinese, people were very confused. Again, without verifiability, we can't actually prove these things. They're purely anecdotal, and we want to be able to build infrastructure that prevents these things from happening to ensure that, again, the right model was used, the right compute was done to achieve the right outcome.
Yeah. Connected, but a little bit unrelated. What do you think of on the WhatsApp encryption? I feel like a lot of these AIs or these models like will only come to the light like, oh yeah, we fucked up after they get sued or they get a class action or subpoenaed. So it's so important, and another reason that's why it's so important to have verifiability and that track record, right? Do you feel like the majority are just being oblivious of like what they're actually doing and what they share to the public, and then doing different things in the background?
Like here's what I think. I think today everyone has been so obsessed with the improvement of quality of AI. And
Yeah,
honestly, we've made so much improvement over the past couple of years, right? Like the model being used a year ago, it's not comparable to the model being used today. And people are so obsessed with improving AI that that's where all the attention is, right? People don't really care about how can we make AI secure, how can we make it, actually trustworthy to
very
to
powerful.
to use for with our personal data. But eventually, I think we're going to hit a bottleneck, and I think we're already hitting that bottleneck where all the data in the world that exists in the world has been trained on. We have all been doing RL on the same models, and models are still continuously improving. But eventually, when they hit this bottleneck, like people are saying, okay, well now we have the smartest models in the world, right? We have models that can hack protocols, we have models that can generate research reports like instantly. Um, but now we have to build the harness around these super smart models that make them actually productive, that actually make them, I guess, potentially replace a lot of human work. And to do that, we need the harnessing that ensures that, again, the model is doing the right thing, the agent is doing the right
Yep.
thing, that we can trust it, right? And that's when verifiability really comes into play. And that's what really turns these super hyper intelligent models over to productive work that actually benefits humans and society directly.
Yeah, no, having that solid foundation and the right infrastructure to then properly scale and having that trust, that verifiability that you guys are building as well. And then we have quantum and all of that it mainly bringing panic to people instead of confidence. But yeah, a topic for another day. But yeah, tell me about MemSync because I'm super interested about this, and it was also connected to what you were saying about the twin apps, about the twins on unified memory about from all apps, and in a way also predicting what you need. Like if you ask it what workout should I make in this example, it will tell you based on you had a knee injury, you should do this. It's a very simple example, but it can go very, very advanced. What's the TLDR in MemSync for people that don't know about it just yet?
Yeah. So the protocol you just highlighted, Twin.Fun, is actually built on MemSync. So
Okay.
MemSync was kind of the precursor protocol to Twin.Fun. MemSync is a custom memory infrastructure layer that we built. And there are two things about it. Firstly, is like I mentioned, the turning of user data into vector embeddings is all securely done within TEs on our network so that user data is kept completely confidential and secure, and that you can trust it with all the different types of data you have. And secondly is, of course, building the actual memory infrastructure. So we actually engineered this from the ground up to make it effective for user-centric applications. And for a period of time, I don't think we are anymore, but for a period of time last year, we were actually state of the art on some long-term conversation memory benchmarks. If you scroll to the very bottom of this blog post, you'll see some of those benchmarks. So this is the Locomo. And we were building some of these like exciting memory products. And then we turned MemSync, which is infrastructure for memory, directly into a protocol. So it's memsync.ai, where it's like kind of like a chat platform where you can integrate all your different kind of apps like Twitter, Reddit, and it'll essentially, give you an AI chat platform that knows who you are, understands your preferences, your personality. It actually breaks it down into like, career, interests, identity, and it can like extract a lot of information about you to make AI a very personalized experience for you. And that then, we built Twin.Fun on top of it as an extension.
It's insane. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned TEs as well earlier. How do you give all these access through a TE as well, but like giving that, like keeping it private, like that access to your AI agent? I think Advine was mentioning in one of the videos that governments and other companies are selling your data without your consent, and now you can give them keys that only you can provide or sell with your data, and it all connects with the fund and the MemSync, right?
Mhm.
How does it stay private and confidential while being in TE, but also giving it access to AI for it to be able to predict what you want? Like they kind of overlap in a way, no?
Yeah. So TEs are, these what they are. They're basically hardware enclaves. They generate these things called remote attestations, and the memory is completely segmented. So these remote attestations they're essentially attestations to the fact that, hey, this image of this program is being run in this TEE, right? So you can pass different things into it, but you can basically verify that whatever you pass into it, it's this program is computing over that data, right? So you can see, okay, like, well, if I pass in, let's say, like my personal key and then like this prompt, it goes into the TE, into this program that then like runs this, inferences this model with that data, and then generates like some output that, I can then get, right? So again, like what TEs really do is ensure that this program is being run in a completely tamper-proof way. And what we're, again, very excited to be building off the shoulders of giants. We're using a lot of the existing infrastructure that exists out there, including like TLS based security with nitriding in AWS Nitro enclaves. Of course, NVIDIA with their kind of Blackwell NVIDIA GPUs have direct hardware enclaves as a feature embedded into them as well. And yeah, being part of the NVIDIA Inception Startup Accelerator program has also been exciting, being able to use all these different types of state-of-the-art hardware to power our network.
Yeah, I saw that you have it on your website as well, the NVIDIA Inception program. How did that happen? And how is that helping in your growth and partnerships? Did it help with the seed raise, other backers from this program, or how has it benefit you guys in general?
Yeah, we got in after the seed raise, so it obviously didn't help necessarily. That was something we did afterwards, but of course, like it gives us access to a network of other builders and enterprise partners that we can directly talk to and leverage for a lot of our compute needs. Which, of course, building something like Open Gradient is extremely important for us. And yeah, it's been a very important milestone. Of course, we are making the best use of the resources at our disposal to continue to accelerate on this mission, and it doesn't stop there. But again, I think building alongside a lot of the top AI companies that are building this infrastructure that we can then use in our products has been, again, very helpful.
Yeah, no, that network is invaluable. Is there a yearly meetup or I don't know, calls or meetings within the NVIDIA program or not?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is kind of just like a network at our disposal. Since being accepted, it's been probably like a year or two. We kind of just like took off and started building on our own. Right now, again, like a lot of it is just resources that if we need access to hardware or compute, there are resources there for us to tap into. But since then, Open Gradient has changed and progressed a lot as a company. We haven't really relied heavily on them and just been making these progressive milestones and achievements on our own.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I've also seen you go into a lot of conference on your Twitter and Open Gradients. A lot to Korea, and besides the Korean barbecue being really good, like what are people telling you when you meet them in person or after you give these talks in front of an audience? Like, what are the people most excited about Open Gradient lately? I'm sure TG and Mainnet, but in general, what are you having the most value from these conferences?
Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting when I pitch people Open Gradient, because usually when I bring up like verifiability in AI or verifiable AI, people are kind of like, oh, okay, so like, why do we need AI to be verifiable? Like, what exactly is like the value proposition? Initially, it's kind of hard for people to wrap their heads around it, just because, unless you kind of are deep in AI, it's not something you see or hear a lot of the time every day. People just hear Anthropic, AI agents, like productive for work. But after usually I explain to them, hey, today you can use AI, but if the AI operator, let's say, uses the wrong model or like saves your data, you don't actually know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, how do you trust AI with critical business decisions? And that kind of then evolves into a conversation of how we're building our infrastructure to make AI as secure and again, auditable, so people can trust it for making important decisions like what stocks to buy, how to rebalance their portfolio, what to do with their business. And of course, as you can see in the screenshot right here, Advates is also critical in helping us explain that to people who don't necessarily have an immediate grasp on why verifiability for AI matters.
I'm sure, yeah, and to a very high level, advanced level of AI, and like the ones that are using AI to make payments and to make business critical decisions, they understand the need for verifiability and having that trust. But for majority of the world, I will dare to say, like, they just use it for answers and how they use Google, right? So they don't understand the difference or don't care much, or it doesn't impact that much in their lives, right? What do you think needs to happen for people to really be aware and in an urgency to react, to like get more involved with AI and agents and implementing this verifiability with open grading, for example?
Yeah, people often pitch this vision of how AI agents are going to be, taking over like workers, and there's going to be this whole AI agent economy, right? Like your doctor is going to be an agent, your lawyer is going to be an agent, your accountant is going to be an agent. They're going to talk to each other, like they're all like agents that work with each other. You're going to have entire companies with agents working with each other. I think coordination is going to be the point where we realize verifiability is actually a choke point. That's going to be the time where we realize, hey, if we can't verify the work that they're doing, we can't actually, we can't actually trust it with, certain data or certain decisions, right? Like if you hired an AI agent to write a report, how do you trust that it uses the best, model for writing, or it uses Opus if it says it uses Opus, right? I can create an AI agent and say, hey, pay me $1, and this AI agent will generate a deep research report using Opus 4.6. Or I can charge you, let's say, like X dollars per million tokens of inputs and outputs based off of Opus. But then on the back end, I can simply swap that out for a much cheaper model and then cheap out and essentially, lie to you or do something here. And verify and actually ensure that that doesn't happen, right? If I say I'm using an expensive model, I'm using an expensive model, and that's auditable. So again, I think coordination is going to be the real important part where we realize verifiability is important.
Yeah, I mean, will human decision making will be? I'm sure that's a bottleneck, but like with OPG token, the AI will be able to make decisions on its own and scale it, right? Like, how will it choose similar models to use, but the one that is less expensive? Or, I mean, yeah, it has the whole processing on the back end, right? On which one is more optimizable and which one is better. Does the human becomes a bottleneck, no? Like a friction in between the process, because it will make it slower, right? Is this one of the main purposes of OPG in the whole process of everything you guys are doing?
Yeah, OPG again is designed, I would say, like if I were to simplify it, for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's the fundamental underlying security layer, right? It ensures that nodes that do the compute won't lie to you, right? The proofs, the attestations they generate are legit. So, if it does something bad, it can get slashed. It, on top of that, also serves as a incentive layer for, hey, come develop more models, come build on our infrastructure. That could be, you could be rewarded in OPG tokens. And thirdly, of course, is payment for compute, right? If you want to use our infrastructure, you have to buy OPG tokens and pay us in OPG tokens, or pay the node providers and the compute providers in OPG tokens. And the growing of this economy is what will secure AI, right? Otherwise, if you don't have a verifiability layer of, where people can get, of course, penalized for doing, bad compute or doing things that are not trustworthy or dishonest, then you're not going to be able to actually ensure that people will say or use the right computes, use the right models, and all of that. So of course, again, like OPG kind of takes that from conception, like, or the conceptual building of open gradient as a verifiability AI layer, to one that actually matters using cryptoeconomics.
Yeah, the power in the whole infrastructure, the whole system that you guys are building. Is there still a chance for people to get involved with OPG today? For example, for a random listener, I mean, there's very little time. Is TG is in a few days, but is it too late? Is it mainly, contributors are checking their eligibility and their airdrop, and can anyone do something today, or just wait until after TG and then buy the token and get involved?
I mean, the airdrop, of course, it being like tomorrow, the snapshot has been taken, unfortunately. But Of course, there are many different ways to get involved post TGE, where you can earn rewards, incentives, and of course, purchase a token as well to participate in the verifiable AI economy. We think that verifiability for AI is, like $1 billion market easily, where eventually we want to ensure that, again, AI is trustworthy, is secure, and can be audited in a transparent fashion. Like that is going to be essentially the bottleneck that unlocks a world of use cases for AI.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I wasn't thinking much about the verifiability, and I'm sure a lot of people were on that same boat. And once you read about it, it's inevitable to go back. Like you can't go back. It's just you expect it as a standard for everything you do now. So yeah, open grading is the way for sure. On these, I wanted to ask you, well, for the 4,000 models on the Model Hub, is these AI agents creating models? Is it developers making models? You guys, the team, is it everyone making models and scaling this into bigger numbers? And also, you have the downloads and the like button, which is great for transparency.
Yeah, so it's a mix of everything. We've developed, I would say, I think, like as a team, maybe somewhere between like 15 to 20 different models on there. They're, like the kind of DeFi models I spoke of, spot forecasting, volatility forecasting, AMM dynamic fee models. A lot of them are on there. We also host partner protocol models. So we host models developed by Filecoin, by Sentient, by Repo, by Pond, by Flock, and more. And of course, the indie devs, right? We have a lot of developers that have built all sorts of different models. We've also hosted a model-thon before in the past and have rewarded, people who built exciting ML and AI models that have uploaded onto our Model Hub. And lastly, of course, we also have larger teams such as like Google that have open source models that we have uploaded directly onto the Model Hub for people to use.
Why do you think people are creating these models and open sourcing them? Are they also like building these models and keep them private? Do they want to be part of history of like, remember 10 years ago we created this model? Like, what do you think is people's purpose on creating these models in general, and anything also other that are contributing in open grading?
I mean, it's nothing new, right? It's kind of like, tapping into the open source community. Like open source software has been a thing for a long time, precedes the start of open gradient, of course. Open source, models, software, like all this stuff is usually meant and designed to enrich the community of people who want to leverage them. And of course, like we're very excited to be that, straight, or that, that platform that can allow people to platform their models, share them with the world, and build with them. Of course, for us, we're building a lot of these models, sometimes directly for people to use, and sometimes just to share research, show how we can use machine learning and AI to build exciting primitives that can one day make DeFi and Web3 smarter. And we're very excited to, be one of, some of the people in this space championing this effort.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. For an everyday user that is not as used to open source building models or these more a little bit advanced tasks, what would you suggest they do today in Open Gradient majority of the things that we do is to buy ourselves more time, right? And to be more efficient, to make our lives easier, better. What would you say for the listeners here today and on the chat, and for anyone that hasn't used Open Gradient before, like how to start and what can they do today?
Like if you're a developer, go to the Model Hub, check out all the models on there. Feel free to contribute. Feel free to even clone models and then improve them even more. I think that's usually how it's a great kind of way to accelerate open source. You can also kind of build agents using some of the infrastructure that we've shipped. Our verifiable inference is shipped into things like Coinbase's agent kits. We also have our own kind of agent library that people can use. If you are not a developer, which is probably most of you guys, feel free to use memsync.ai or
Yes.
go to twin.fun to launch your own digital twin, or bigquant.io if you're interested in using an agent that can transact for you on DeFi. A lot of these like ecosystem applications are kind of free for people to use, and we're excited to kind of just build these proof of concept products that have shown to gain a lot of traction and just showcase what verifiability and AI can actually unlock on the application layer.
Nice. Yeah, I was thinking Bitcoin as well as one of the main ones. There's that ability for giving that access to an agent to trade for you and do it better than you, and trade 24/7. It's so valuable. And people, I mean, everyone's looking for a new meta, right? The new what's next right now in crypto and Web3 to make money. And Twitter just launched cash tags. Like trading is not going anywhere. Meme coins are not going anywhere, even if a little bit less volume than a year or two ago. Bitcoin could be the best way to onboard new users that are not developers or as used to for open source.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like Bitcoin is kind of like just a canonical example of what eventually the space will be like, right? Where
Yep.
Bitcoin is for DeFi, but eventually, your portfolio manager, your doctor, your physician, your lawyer, your accountant they will eventually all be replaced by AI, in my opinion. And of course, like you want to ensure that your accountant isn't leaking your personal financial data, that your lawyer is using the right models to generate the most kind of high quality output that serves your interests best. All these things will be very, very important. And, we are excited to be shipping the backbone infrastructure that just, can power all of this. And again, Bitquant is contained to DeFi just because a lot of the crypto users are excited about it. But, I think the use cases here are plentiful.
What happens then, man? I'm sure you've thought about it a lot. Like when AI replaces everyone around you in a way or so, like your lawyer, your doctor, every job that we know to date. Like, what are humans doing on their day-to-day lives besides touching grass because there's nothing else? Or how are I mean, it's a very big question, so you can tell the art. But yeah, what's your vision? What's the scenario when everything goes AI?
Yeah, well, I think there are two things, right? Number one, like the highly skilled humans will be operators. Like you're gonna have one person essentially operating, tens, hundreds, thousands of agents potentially, and they essentially direct these agents to do things, right? And I would say on the more individual consumer level, I think the great thing is productivity essentially skyrockets within the economy, right? Because like agents are cheaper, they're faster, they're more intelligent, they work 24/7, they don't need to rest. And in that way, the economy will generate so much more GDP with these AI agents that I think will, Elon Musk does say this a lot, and I don't want to sound cliche, but there will be economic abundance based off just sheer productivity of the economy. And a lot of that, economic output can then be redistributed in many different ways, shapes, and forms back to the people. And what people choose to do with their own time, I think, is, hopefully it becomes a kind of system where people can do whatever they want. But ultimately, I think a lot of what I'm saying here is pure conjecture. Nobody actually knows what's going to happen. We're personally very excited to be building directly for this future.
No, of course. Yeah, you guys are the pinnacle of it and pioneering on a lot of this, and especially with verifiability and having that trust and that execution. So exciting, man. What will people do? Well, anyways, that's a whole other conversation. But I mean, people enjoy and are excited about what they don't have that much in their lives. Like people always want what they don't have. So if they have all the time in the world and no risk or no fear of money, like no need to work for money, it's gonna be a very interesting time ahead. But yeah. Anyways, shit, we're already at the hour. What do you think we covered everything? Anything you would like to highlight? Obviously, TGE mainnet. Any last words? I do have one more question, but I'll ask you this one first, and then one last question, and then we close.
Yeah, I mean, overall, we've been shipping this for a while. I think the future is very bright and very exciting. I think we have a very strong thesis around verifiability for AI. We don't think AI is going anywhere, and if AI is not going anywhere, security, of your data, confidentiality of your data, and also just auditability of compute is going to be extremely important as AI does more critical things for people. We will be shipping more and more after TGE, and be on the lookout for more updates, and follow all the updates by checking out our Twitter and a lot of the research and articles that we put out on our website as well. But overall, again, thank you so much for your time, and it's been great chatting about what we're passionate about.
So excited, man. I mean, I'm turning notice on. I already knew about you guys before this, but it's unbelievable what you guys are building. yeah, so much respect for you guys. One last question before we close. What's your best advice for builders with big and ambitious goals? Where to start? What has worked for you, and what would you recommend?
Well, this doesn't tie directly to Open Gradient, but I think like we are in a very unique era where leveraging kind of AI for productivity, literally 10x's, if not, 20, 30, 40x's your productivity. Learn how to use the tools, learn how to use, your software you build yourself to increase your own productivity in a way that serves your interests best. And you will be ahead of the curve. Don't be left behind, learn fast, do things, and build AI agents to eventually be replacing people as opposed to, get replaced. So, yeah, I mean, I think we are accelerating as much as we can as a company, and also myself as I learn about all the exciting things that the AI community and also crypto AI community has been putting out. But yeah, exciting stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, learn fast, experiment, fail, do as much volume as you can, and find your way and start continue building what you really believe in. For anyone out there, experiment, fuck around and find out. Amen. So thank you so much, Matthew. It's been an incredible show. Shout out to everyone that was in the comments. Scorpion, Scarlett, Dimka, Dirklog, cannot name you all, but thank you so much from YouTube, Kick, Twitch, Abstract, and Twitter. This was episode 41. Matthew, Open Gradient. Thank you so much again. We'll see you guys on the next one, and have a good Wednesday. Thank you, Matthew.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye.